Okay,
Okay.
I'm Michael Holmes. This is the 3rd of May, 2013, and I'm here in Agnes Penney's home interviewing Mrs. Penney, who is a lifelong resident of Hopkinton.
That's right.
And Agnes, we'd love to hear your memories of town as a young person and as you've proceeded through life in Hopkinton.
Well, I've lived, we were married, I lost my husband in 2000, but we were married 58 years. And I've met him on a blind date, believe it or not. And we married. And we had 3 daughters and then a son. You probably noticed the trailer's gone. Did you ever see the U-Haul thing? My son has, they camp. And they took the thing just out this morning. You wouldn't have been able to get by it because it was, it was right where you parked. So, anyway. So what else do you want to know now? What else can I tell you?
Well,
I love to dance. I used to go to dances twice a week.
where were they?
One of them was over in Woodville at the what's the name of the place there?
The Rod and Gun? No.
The what the heck was that awful? Everything goes astray every once in a while. And I thought, well, anyway, that was the only hall that was around here that you could dance.
What year would that have been when you went to the dances? Were you a young girl or married already?
Oh no, I wasn't married. My husband didn't dance at all until he met me, and then he danced after that. No, it was just a group that it wasn't anybody could go. It wasn't it wasn't only for people that belong to Woodville, I'll say, but. We danced and we camped. We had a school bus. Was the first trailer we had. I call it a trailer. It really wasn't a trailer. It was a bus. And we went everywhere. And my husband liked to do a lot of things. He braided rugs. And one year for Christmas, he got all the kids in the neighborhood and he let them pick out the color yarn they wanted, and he made mittens.
Ah,
I think he made about 14 pair of mittens. He gave them to the kids for Christmas, which was, and then he did macrame. And I have a lot of chairs that he's we're still using them. There's a little shed down back here. My son puts the chairs down there. But he said to me, I like to do that. He's got to have something with his hands doing. He had to be, had to be busy. And it's strange about how things happen. He worked for Gillette Safety Razor in South Boston. And my son now is in the same building. It's not Gillette anymore. It's it's two different names. I'm trying to think. Isn't it funny how things leave you? And well, anyway, he drives to South Boston every day.
and works in the same building
and
as
works in the
Dad.
same building. That is something in Taylor. It'll come to me. But anyway, when he went in there, they had to ask him all kinds of questions and everything, And so he said to the man that was asking questions, he said, does this company take you to a campground in New Hampshire and you're only there for the day, but it's only your people that are there. And I look at him and they said, "Oh, how did you know that?" Well, he says, I used to go. My father and mother we always went to the Gillette outings. And so I said, Procter and Gamble is the name of the thing now.
Oh, P&G, yeah.
Okay. I knew it would come to me eventually. So, anyway, he likes it there, and he does all mechanical work, any mechanical thing, and he puts up, he puts up blinds, and they built this building. He and my father and one neighbor used to come, and there was nothing. There was no garage or anything. It was all land, and so then when we decided to get rid of the house, he said, "Well, Mama, I'd like to live there." I said, "Oh, you would?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, there's no reason why you can't. You're the only boy." And with three sisters, it was kind of hard. He just, he didn't have anybody to play with the sisters, because there weren't many people in the neighborhood here with children. They were all old maids and bachelors. Yeah, they were. It was,
You mean here,
huh?
in your current address?
They lived in the house, and we had to wait till they died before we could buy the house. We bought that house. It didn't have hardly anything, like white sink, or they had a black sink, and they didn't have a toilet. Was down in the cellar. You had to go down the cellar to go to the toilet, and different things. And so, but we bought the house for $4,500 with everything in it.
And where was that? What street? Or
Right here.
Oh,
The house,
I see.
instead of the garage. There was no garage. But anyway, we just kind of made in well with them. And we did different things than the kids today do. They never shoveled a driveway. They never shoveled we always did it. And the woman that was the younger of the three that lived there, well, one man and two women, she would make donuts, or she'd make something, and she'd say, "Now, after you get that shoveling done, you come in. I got fresh donuts for you." So we'd always bring it home for my mother. We'd eat what was there, at the time. But, that was a different kind of people. They didn't, I've often said, I'd probably go out to the mailbox, and if I fell down, they'd walk around me. The people today, they're not the same kind of people. We never let anybody if somebody who had trouble with their furnace or whatever, they call him my father.
That's your dad?
That's my father.
Honey Hill.
Yeah.
McIntyre's family tree.
Yeah, this is Honey Hill. That's right.
Now, he called this home Honey Hill? Or...
Yeah, no, this is Honey Hill.
Oh, what a nice name.
He probably didn't put it on there. But that was to go in the parade for the 250th.
Oh, fabulous.
So,
Interesting.
it was just...
And that's your dad. And what was his
right.
name?
That's my dad. Arthur McIntyre.
Arthur McIntyre. And where did he grow up?
He grew up, he grew up in that house. When the DeLees, and of course the house next door, where, do you know Lizzie, with the store next door?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was my grandmother and grandfather's house. Then it was my mother and father.
And that was a McIntyre?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was all McIntyres.
What did your grandma or your grandfather do in town? What was his work?
He was a carpenter. And my father was well, I guess you'd call him yeah, he was a carpenter, but he worked for Dennison Manufacturing in Framingham.
Before Gillette?
52.
Oh, no, your
No,
husband
no,
worked
no,
for Gillette.
Yeah. And I used to drive him to work.
You did? What kind-
18 years I drove him to work. And his brother lived on Pleasant Street. You know where Pleasant Street is in
Sure.
town? Okay. He lived on Pleasant Street, and I'd go down and pick him up. And my father drove, but he didn't like to drive to Framingham every day. So, and I take him down in the morning and then go down at night. He goes work till 5 o'clock and I go down there. But we didn't have I gave up my car and my license because I thought there's no courtesy on the road. It's terrible. And the way they go by here, you'd think it was some kind of a highway, that was awful. People that come to visit, I always say to them, look, when you go out the driveway, turn around and head out. Then you've got something in both directions. Because there's a light up here, and there's a blinking light down there. So, but most of them do it. They'll say, gee, how come you decided that? I said, I lived here too long not to see, I don't want to see anything happen out there. And of course, when the kids get out of school, there's 3 schools around here. The high school's right across the street. Then they built one down near the railroad tracks. Why they ever put it way down there, I have no idea, So, anyway, yeah, you're not getting anything done, are you, while I'm talking?
No. But this is getting everything done. It's great. Now, do you remember the farm across the way was it ever a farm when you were a young
yes,
girl?
I remember it was a farm. We used to play with pigs down underneath the barn. And I did housework in high school. When I was in high school, I did housework for Anna Terry. So I knew that house, like my own. And she'd always say to me, gee, you know how to dust, don't you? I said, well, yeah, it doesn't take much of a brain to know how to dust. And she's kidding, she kidded with me all the time. But that was when I was in high school. But I didn't finish high school because my mother got sick and I was the oldest. There were 5 sisters, and we only had 1 brother. And I had to give up school and then to go back and with another class, so I never finished.
How many were in your class? Was it a small class? Do you remember?
There might have been 26 or so. There wasn't too many.
And what high school did you go to?
Hopkinton.
Was it
up on the hill, on Main Street.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I went there, and we used to walk through the Grove. What was the Grove? On Grove Street, there was the Carrigans owned. The Carrigans were 2 sisters that were teachers. One was the 3rd grade and the other one was the 8th grade. So to cut off going all the way down Grove Street to Main and then up the hill, we cut through the woods there. And there were a lot of branches and stuff, but we didn't care. We just made it easier for us to get to school. And we cut off all that going down to Main Street. Because there wasn't the traffic then that there is now. So it wasn't, there weren't, people did a lot more walking, and now they're driving. Most of the people have a car. So, well, listen, go ahead. What else do you want to know?
Well, I was just thinking
Um,
of Main Street and maybe even parades you might have seen or celebrations or through.
oh, yes.
Do you remember some of the earliest ones you saw or were involved with?
Yeah, the earliest would be, well, it started on Pleasant Street, at the McIntyre House on Pleasant Street, because Charlie McIntyre was his name, Charlie. They both worked at, both Charlie, the one I drove, and my father, Arthur. When I think of it now, I thought, how did I do that every day? Every day. And they worked 6 days a week. There was no Saturdays off. He had to work on Saturday. So I thought, gee. But the 4th of July parade started on 29 Pleasant Street, the McIntyre House. And at Dennison Manufacturing, they had crepe paper and all that stuff, you know. Well, he'd bring home anything that nobody wanted, he'd bring it home. And then he'd pass it out to the kids on bicycles and, you know, whatever they were gonna, if they're gonna walk, they're gonna walk. And they had all boys in their family. You know, they were all McIntyre boys, and they're all gone. And we only had one brother too. Jimmy was the only one that, you know, that was in our family. They were all girls, and so I thought, when they brought me the baby, the last baby, which was my son, they brought him in to me and they said, "Oh, Mrs. Penney, you've got a little boy, but he's really not little." And I said, oh, thank you. And after 3 daughters, when I got a hold of him, I took him all apart to make sure it was a boy.
Because you were so surprised?
Well, you were. Yes, I was. I thought we'd never have a boy, but we did finally, and it was just a comical thing. People laughed when I said I took them all apart. I said couldn't imagine after 3 girls that I'd have a boy, but I did.
Now, you had your children in a hospital, right? Did you go
Yes.
to the hospital?
Yes.
Did
Oh, yeah.
people here in town still have their babies at home at all, or not?
Oh yeah, some of them. My mother had her. She only had 2 at the hospital. The rest of them were home, in that house over there.
Mm-hmm.
And the garage over there that they have, she's got antiques and stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, before that, my father used to inspect cars. He had the first inspection station for stickers in Hopkinton. And I even remember the number. 1022 was this number. And, you know, he would work all day at Dennison, and then he'd come home and he'd work in the garage, sometimes till midnight. He did motor jobs and everything. And, you know, I used to say, I don't know how he stood to do all that he had done. You know what I mean? It just seemed like he did nothing but work. Worked in the daytime, worked at night. And then his parents moved up to Maine. And so we used to go visit in Maine. But they were retired and they liked it in Maine. I guess my grandfather came from Maine, and that's why he talked his wife into going down there, and they bought a house down there. So anyway, well, I'm
So
talking.
that's where part of your people are from then, from Maine. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, right, right. Well, they went there from here.
Right.
They were here first. My grandmother was born in Holliston. And where she ever met him, I don't know. That I don't know where met her husband.
But your grandfather came down here from Maine.
Yes, yes, he did. Yeah, and that's why he wanted to go back there.
So are your daughters and your son all still here in town? Do you tend to stay in Hopkinton or?
I have two daughters in Hopkinton. The other one lives in Ashland.
Not very far.
No, not very far. She's a nurse, and Nancy has a lovely lady. I told you that.
Yes.
Yes, she's been there since 1965.
And what's her married last name?
Nancy
Mc-
McMillan.
McMillan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Well, it sounds like you were driving at a very young age, and
Yeah.
the roads were pretty good, or?
Yeah, yes, and I know every tire mark on the road to Ashland from here. I would say, uh-oh, somebody had a flat tire or something. You could see the mark on the road, and there was a different mark on the road. And my father said to me, how the hell do you know that? I said, I can see it out the window. I was driving a Jeep, a 1950 Jeep. That's what I was driving. That's what he had.
Do you remember the war years?
The what?
World War II years, or?
My husband was in World War II. He was in the Navy. My brother was in the Navy, and my husband's brother was in the Navy. And oh yeah, I remember that was. I'll show you a picture of him after a while.
And many of your classmates were the boys. Did the boys go off to?
Some of them did, yeah. Billy Whalen, I know Billy Whalen didn't come back either. He was killed. But he was from Pleasant Street, and of course the McIntyre kids and the Whalen kids all played together. You know, they used to play in the backyard and everything. So.
And even before that, Agnes, did you have any impressions of the Depression era of the 30s, or were you too little to have that affect your family?
No, you couldn't buy. Well, we bought milk across the street because they had cows with milk for sale. We came with a can about that big with a handle, and my mother would send me over to get the milk. We'd go get the milk. And you weren't afraid to cross the street because there weren't any cars. You know, very few cars on the road. So you don't have to worry about, and we had no lines of anything. And the World War was it took a lot of good people, you know, and just some of them came back and some of them didn't come back. So, but it was hard. My children were young when their father had to go. Well, he didn't have to go, but he wanted to go. If he went anywhere, he wanted to go in the Navy, and he did. And he spent a lot of time in France. And he used to write letters to me, and he'd say, "This is the dirtiest place I was ever in. Nothing's clean over here," he said. I said, "Well, I hope you don't bring any of that home with you." So, you know, we left it that way. But he, he did what he wanted to do. He wanted to go in the Navy. And I said, well, you know, hey, as long as you send me money to help the kids, you know. And he did. He worked overtime and stuff, and so that was all of that. But listen, I'm doing all the talking, and you're not.
Well, I
You're
think
not-
it's the way it's supposed to be, that you
Oh,
do
is it?
that you do all the talking. So
no.
what, in some ways, whatever comes to mind is the right path to take. So whatever stories you have, even if they're like funny stories about people in town or your own your own family or things that you especially remember as being maybe very different then and from now.
Yeah.
You know, like comparisons are an interesting thing to do. You've made
There's-
some.
Oh, there's not. Nothing is the same. Not even the people.
What do you think are the biggest changes?
Oh, a lot of things. The price of gasoline, for one thing.
Indeed.
My mother and father had Gulf gas pumps out near the sidewalk, because the sidewalk wasn't there then. But I mean, they walked in the grass, and they at one time they were serving gas 8 for $1, 8 gallons for $1, and the oil came in little something like a lamp, like a lamp shade, and not a lamp shade, but a spoke, so that you could pour it. Yeah.
Right, a tin. Or,
Yeah. And my mother took care of the gas pumps while my father was working at Denison. And then when he come home, he'd take over. But he used to look out the window and he'd say, he says, that's so-and-so. You know what? He doesn't want any gas. He wants some free air. He had an air compressor and he wants free air. He said, I'm not going out to him. He knows where it is. So,
you just kept an eye on it.
yeah, right. So, different things that they said that I thought was kind of funny, I wouldn't have said anything at all. I would have kept my mouth shut. He had to say, he said to my mother, no, he said, that's so-and-so. He said, Al Pingree or somebody. He said, he don't want me. He got gas the other day, so he won't, and so he didn't go out to him either. He let him take the free air.
Well, he knew his clientele.
Oh, yeah, it was funny in a way, they just...
Where did you do your grocery shopping back then?
Oh, there was a McDonough store. There's a First National down where, what's the name? Has the antiques next to Nancy. What's her name?
Country Plus?
Yes.
Judy.
Judy, yeah. There was a First National store there. And then there was McDonough's store was on Hayden Row. And they came around and wrote down your order and they'll order it for you.
The McDonough's?
Yes, McDonough's.
Uh-huh.
Did you know any of the McDonough's?
Mary, I knew.
Mary.
Yeah,
Mary
or John.
Mary,
Yeah.
Carey, and John.
Yeah.
Well, you used to be able to go there even on Sunday and buy something if say you run out of something, and so nobody went out of town until Brockelmans came to Framingham.
What was that?
Brockelman,
Oh.
and they were right in the center of town. And J.C. Penney was there too, and 5 and 10.
I remember that.
Newberry's, yeah. And those were the places that you went when you needed something more than groceries.
Mm-hmm.
You could buy shoes there. Everything you could get in Framingham. And that's why they didn't like when all the stores came and went on to, Route 9? Or whatever it is. I thought, well, you have to drive a little further. And my mother says, I'd rather have it right in Framingham. Why did they have to move a lot of the things out onto this big,
Big highway.
yeah. So, anyway, but we still went to Framingham for Brockelman's after. Well, the First National's closed on Main Street. And then where Nancy is was a fish market years ago. They sold fish there. The Thomases, I don't know if you know any of the Thomases.
I live next to it, Thomas. The electrician, do you remember?
Hey, what's his name?
Oh, what's his first name? Up on Main Street. Pretty house.
On Main
Bill Thomas.
Oh, Bill Thomas. Oh, yeah, I know. No, this was before that.
Okay.
Before Bill. Yeah, I knew Bill. And, you know, it just seems like... And it was a restaurant. They sold all kinds of vegetables and fruit and everything on the corner of Walker Street and in Maine. You know what I'm talking about?
Sure.
Jack Dennehy was there as a barber
Yep.
for a while.
Yep.
Okay.
Did they raise their own stuff or did they get it from farms?
They raised a lot of it, and they were the Meninos.
They raised it right there in town?
Yes, they had a big garden.
Did people back then have their own animals that did they keep animals or for meat? Or is that they didn't do that?
Well, there were people. Some people had horses, but you know they just were. We called it outside. You know, outside it was like a big field someplace,
Right.
and they put the animals out there. But over under Terry's farm, or under Terry's barn, they had pigs. They raised pigs for a while, and we used to go over and. So I wouldn't think of walking over there to see a pig today, but anyway, we used to go, and we didn't handle them or anything. But we just watched what they did and what they ate. We might bring them something to eat, you know.
Did they have like 4-H groups here in town or the Grange?
Yes, they had 4-H. Oh, yeah, and the Grange, yeah.
So would kids, take care of
Yeah.
animals and do that?
My wedding reception, well, weren't any halls in town. It was at the Grange Hall. That's where I had my reception.
Nice.
So that was, that's a long time ago. You know, it just seems like years ago. And but we got married. I got married at St. John's. You know where St. John's Church
Sure.
is. I got married there, and then we went down there for the reception. Which there weren't any halls. I mean, you couldn't. There weren't any places around that were big enough to accommodate 50 or 60 people.
Mm.
You know, so you had to take what was there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I had. And we went to Maine to see my grandmother and grandfather didn't come down for the wedding, so we went down and visited.
You
with
took
them.
the party there.
Yes, we went there. That's right. And we brought cake, and so I said, well, we brought some wedding cake for your grandma's. Oh my goodness, who made the cake? And I couldn't remember her name. And so she started naming people off that made cakes. And I said, oh, yeah, I think that's the one, I'm not sure. Oh, well, I'm not going to put it down if you're not sure. So she wouldn't write it down.
But she ate it, I hope.
But she ate it, yes, she did. So anyway, but,
Well,
you know,
Tell me what you like best about town now. What about any positive changes? Are there things that you like that have maybe changed from
yeah, well,
earlier times?
things that haven't gone away, let me put it that way.
Those are the things you like.
Those are the things I like. The things that, now And that 4th of July parade, we always went to that. Because my uncle was the one who brought home the crepe paper that
Right.
trimmed everybody's bicycle or whatever they were gonna. Some people went with strollers with babies in them, and they have the babies all dressed up.
So you still like that?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, and they still have it.
they do.
They
It's a
still have
great
it.
tradition.
Yeah, it is. It's years ago, and I thought, oh boy, but the town, the people don't seem. I mean, they just seem to come and they maybe buy a house, because we didn't have the houses that we've got now either. There weren't houses like that around. There were fields.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I don't know. They just don't seem. And they raise their children here sometimes, and then they sell the house and go someplace else. There's a lot of houses that have had children, and now when the kids are gone, the parents don't want to stay in that house, so they go someplace else. I don't know if it's what it would be. If they raise their children there, why wouldn't they still stay? Unless they wanted a smaller house or something, that's one thing, but I don't know. I can't figure out what the people are just not, and you could live, my daughter-in-law came home one day and she said to me, "We're going to have a picnic." And I said, oh, good, that's good. Where are you going to have it? Just right here. So I said, all right. So they had the picnic, and I said, is there anything I can do? And she said, yeah, if you want to make something. I said, okay. So I made some cookies. And anyway, after the thing was over, she had this great big tray with all good stuff, but left over. Nobody else could eat it. So she went over to that house there. She knocked on the door, and this man came. They were mostly all black there. And he came to the door, and she said, we had some leftovers. I thought you might be interested. He said, we're all set here. She said, okay. So she come back home. And she said, well, I won't do that again. So I don't even know the people that live in that house.
Your neighbors.
I don't know them.
Mm.
They're just, they're just not friendly. And I don't know. They come and they go and they, there's lights on at night, but I don't know who's there. I don't even know who owns the house now.
Mm.
But Minnie Monahan and Holly, her brother, they owned that house. They didn't have electricity either for a while. It was that far back that.
What did they have? Oil lamps, or
Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah.
Mm.
I wouldn't want to go back to that.
No, there are some improvements, aren't there?
Oh, geez. Right. So.
Better bathrooms.
Yeah, right. Oh. So, when I first went to the first grade in school, it was down on near the one that's down there now on Ash Street. But it was a little house, and the teacher was there. Was Kay O'Brien. I don't know if you knew.
I've heard the name.
She was. She married John Smith. And there was this little house, and you had to go outside for the outhouse. They had no toilets in it.
Where was the little house?
well, it's gone now, but do you know where Gladys Morse lived? How long have you been in town?
Oh, just 40 years, just from the 70s.
All right. Gladys Moss was the first house after the Elmer School.
Okay.
And this building was there. And she made it she had the first and second grades. She was teaching both. The first grade was on one side and the second on the other. Then, I think it was 1929, they built the other school, Center. And I went into the third grade there.
Oh, you did?
Yes. And then we went from there, after 6th grades were there. And then the 7th grade, you had to go up to the high school. 7th and 8th was up at the high school. The old high school.
Mm-hmm. The old high school on Main Street?
On Main Street,
Mm.
yeah.
Did you call it Stedgy Prep? I heard that name.
Yeah, I've heard that.
But you didn't call it
No,
that.
I didn't call it that, no.
You just called it the high school.
Yeah, just called it high school, yeah.
So-
I heard that remark though before. I don't know who started that.
I don't either. So all the kids went there from 7th grade all the way up through graduation from high
Yeah.
school?
Yeah. But I didn't
Right.
get there. But I mean, my mother was, she had Lou Gehrig's disease.
So you really needed to be home.
Yeah. And so, and then after my mother died, she died in 1965. In fact, she just had got to see Nancy's shop on Main Street there before, it was a week or two before she passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And so my father lived there alone in that house. And he used to come for dinner at night. And he said, gee, I'm glad you're here. And I said, well, I'm here for a while. My kids are still growing up. They're not able to leave yet. So he used to come over and talk over different things that went on at Denison and what went on. And he said, you never minded the snow on the streets, did you, when you're driving up back and forth to Framingham? I said, no. The streets in Hopkinton and Ashland were better than the ones in Framingham. And he said, you're right. So, anyway, listen, I'm taking time, and you probably got some other things to do.
No, I'm happy to wrap up. I think you have a wonderful reflections, and it's grand to hear from you. And
Well,
we could, I'll just wrap up by, we could go on and on. I have the feeling, Agnes.
Sure.
But let's stop now, if you're comfortable with that.
Sure.
And if you want to show me any
I wanna
photos, I can take some
I want to
photos
show
of
you
that.
I'm not going to give you this.
No,
This
no,
is
that's
mine.
personal.
But I'd like you to see it.
I would love to see it.
I don't think you've ever seen it.
Hopkinton Illustrated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's a beautiful book, embossed.
I understood that there was only 3 copies of that.
Oh, it says
And
property of Richard Penney. That's
Yeah,
your
that was
dad.
that was my husband. They called
Oh,
him
your
Joe,
husband,
though.
yes.
Yeah, that was my
Right,
husband.
right. This is Hopkinton from the cemetery. And I might come back and take photos of this. This is lovely. Main Street West from Davenport's block. I'm sure an editor will look at this and say, oh, Michael, and you did this all wrong. But we don't care. Main Street from Adams Express Office. Now, what was Adams Express Office? Do you
Yeah.
even remember that? Town Hall. Oh, that's a great photo of Town
Yeah.
Hall.
Town Hall.
Did you go to town meetings at Town Hall?
Yes. That's what.
That's
and
where they were held, isn't
yes.
Uh-huh.
And the dances like that, you know, you have a dance, and the only place they have it was in the town hall. It was the only place that was big enough to
Uh-huh.
accommodate.
Oh, the bank is nice.
Yeah.
That's a lovely picture of the bank. That's right at Main Street and Hayden Row, isn't it?
Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
The Highland House and Chapel building. I don't know but what this one is gone.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was right on Main Street, I believe.
It might have been burned. You think
Yeah, it
it
could have been.
was gone in one of the fires, possibly. The old hotel. Now that's the lovely stone house that's still there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Right.
Labeled the old hotel. DT Bridge and Company's boot manufactory.
They're gone too.
I expect we'd remember that one if it was still here. It's huge.
Right.
Thompson's boot manufactory. Did you have any of your people who worked at any of these buildings?
No.
No?
No.
Any of your elderly, relatives from before who
No.
might have worked there? Well, we have more. We have Crooks. I think we've got some picture of. I didn't realize there were the 2 Crooks buildings. Those are huge. And I should probably be taking really photos of these. Mount Auburn in Maine. Claflin's.
It's an old name in town.
That is,
Yes.
definitely. Congregational Church. We have a number of these. I don't want to, well, I think we won't get that one. And I don't want to hurt the book itself. The Methodist Church looks much the same. And we'll finish with St. John's, which looks certainly recognizable. Pretty church.
Yeah.
That's where you were married.
I was married. Yeah, I was married
Lovely.
there.
Thank you.
This, I don't know if you are interested in these or not.
The Hopkinton Fair, 3rd annual, 1945. Great picture of a local car. The event of the year in the garden spot of New England. This is the Hopkinton Fair too.
Yeah.
So that was an annual event then,
Yeah.
right? Lovely. Oh, that's
Well,
nice.
I think that's, I guess I
I think
don't
that
know
might
if
be
there's
it.
anything-
So,
yeah, I don't think there's anything else in here that. Oh, that's. You've
That's
seen-
St.
you've already
John's.
Seen that, yeah.
yes.
No, I guess that's about it.
Okay, well, we'll wrap up. I'm Michaelyn Holmes. This is May 3rd, and 2013, and I'm here with Agnes Penney at her home on 97 Hayden Row.
Right.
And you've been here a while.
Honey Hill.
Honey Hill.
Honey Hill.
I love the Honey Hill picture.
Yeah,
That's
it
really
is.
great. So we'll close with the Honey Hill picture
sure.
and your dad.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much, Agnes.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay.